So some of those Supcase cases have that camera control button. And today we're going over which, how, and what they have going on with their cases. Now let's start off with the UB MAG. These have an excellent fit, are easily installed, and getting them off is no issue either. Soft silicone feeling side with a seamless transition towards the clear hard plastic backplate. Very strong MagSafe magnets on there, which is great to see, and the camera bump is no joke either. It's strong plastic around the camera, but also thick, so it doesn't feel minimal at all. The case itself feels like it's wider on the front and then narrows down towards the backplate, which feels very natural in the way you hold this case. The only part which feels odd is the bottom, where the edges of the cutout are not completely refined, making them a little annoying. This case features very clicky and tactile buttons, which is always good. And the camera control button is a little bigger here, making it higher than the case itself, which can be experienced as a good thing since now it's easier to find blindly, but it's harder to use blindly since your finger will sort of fly off and hit that bump when it comes back round. I'm sure there's cams for both of these versions, but I'd say my preference would go towards the recessed version since that's what the actual button is on the iPhone as well. Here it's definitely a different experience, which is easier to take photos from, but harder to use with that zooming function, etc. Now, as far as the responsiveness goes, it's nearly the same experience as with the Spigen one, but I feel like that one is a little smoother of a material, which makes it easier to swipe across and reacts a little better too. And if I say reacts a little better, I don't mean that this one doesn't recognize touches or anything, but when you swipe across it without a case, it feels very responsive, and here it will be tuned down like 50% of that. And with the Spigen, only like 25%. So that's still 75% of responsiveness compared to only 50 on this button. Very good front protection, and it comes in different versions as well. Like the gray we have here on the 16 Pro Max, but also the black for either the 16 series, where it does have that unique camera bump, or the 16 Pro Max version. Now that same case is also available in a clear case version, which is 100% identical except for one thing, and that is the camera control. Since the button now sort of wiggles a little, and you can hear that too. They have the regular one with MagSafe and also a kickstand one, where the MagSafe ring is the kickstand. Both are equally strong as far as the magnets go, and the kickstand is usable horizontally but also vertically and works perfect. Now on the 16 series version, they still have that same unique camera bump design, but this time a transparent plate in there. Looks awesome still. Then they also still have the UB Pro MAG with that camera protection plate. Still love the feel of this case, and that plate is still made out of that heavy zinc alloy, which feels really premium. I just hate that that plate for the camera is bigger than the case here too though. Recently, I saw the Spigen optic armor, and that one pretty much has the same issue. And it is also annoying when you want to hold your phone horizontally when taking a photo or video with that new button, since then the plate of course needs to be open. Really strong MagSafe magnets on this case, and that design on the backplate still looks amazing as well. Really rugged, but the case itself feels slim. It's just an awesome combination. The slim down sides with those grippy stripes there make for an excellent grip, but due to the bigger corners, it makes using the camera control cutout a little harder. And since they opted for a pill cutout here instead of the button, it makes it more difficult to operate. It looks like a deep cutout, but it's definitely a pill cutout here, since both sides are as high, making it even harder to press. Very clicky buttons though, so that's good. And it also features that USB-C plug, which is very easy to open, which is definitely not always the case with these plugs, so that's great too. Comes in a lot of colors, but I have the Titan Gray for my 16 Pro Max and the black color on the 16 series here. On the 16 series though, they didn't opt for a unique camera bump and instead made it a square plate here too, which is a huge missed chance, since it could have been so good. Since the camera bump here is smaller, the plate wouldn't have to be bigger than the case here either. Now if you do want that camera control button on the case similar to the previous one, why not take a look at their UB grip case. These cases were introduced at the end of the 15 Pro cycle, and now that I got my hands on them, I must say I love these. I actually really doubted to put these in my top 5 as well, and there isn't really any particular reason why I didn't. I just had to make choices because there are so many good cases out there, and especially for a top 5, which is always difficult to make. This case is everything the UB Pro MAG isn't this year. The issue with the bigger / bulkier corners is fixed because they feature a camera control button here now, which is awesome to see, and it's the first I've seen so far with a bulkier style case. And it confirms exactly what I thought. The bigger / bulkier corners aren't a problem at all if you use a button, because cutouts don't work on these style of cases. They made this button exactly flush with the case too, so it's not higher as with the UB MAG, which is also much better in my opinion. But I do think that it's awesome that they have the choice instead of throwing the same button on every case. Same great fit when it comes to this case, same camera bump, but without that protection plate around it, which is no big deal because it's already more than enough. And that same USB-C plug here too for keeping that dust and debris out. The front protection swells up towards the top and bottom, but is still present in the middle as well. Now the kickstand works perfectly fine too, both horizontally and also vertically. Great case. And especially for that price tag at only 28 USD, which is amazing. Available in 2 colors, gray and black. But then if you want full protection, the UB Pro is the one for you. This 2-piece design has a screen protector front too, so it's really the full protection. Front protection does feel pretty flimsy though, so I'm not sure what would happen to it, but it will probably take all scratches at least. It has a huge cutout for the camera control button, but funny enough really works out fine here. There's absolutely no issue with the corners in combination with that button, and it's all really smooth so that it's perfect with this case. Now a button wouldn't be possible here, I think, due to the thickness of the sides, so it solved it well. That also means that there's a huge gap out of the side though, which you may dislike aesthetic wise, but the gap is at the palm of your hand when you hold it with one hand and at the sides of your finger when you're typing with 2 hands. So either way, it's very comfortable to use. Lays completely flat on a table, and that's because it makes use of the thickness of the case instead of adding a camera bump on top. Features a kickstand on the back, which you can also pop out, which works well. And even though it works horizontally and vertically, it's a little wobbly in its vertical stance. Then, if that wasn't enough protection for you, it also features another plate which you can click on top of the other. Much like the OtterBox Defender cases, where it also has that belt clip. You can also turn that clip, so you can even carry it horizontally on your belt, if you so desire. This case has a lot of front protection, and it will never get damaged with this one, that's for sure. A drop test is therefore not needed because it would probably survive all of the most extreme tests out there. But one thing that I hate about it is that now these symmetrical lines around the screen are no longer symmetrical. They sort of make their own lines now, and it does not look good from the front. But that's the only thing I could find though. Overall though, this is a really good choice too.